Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. We are going to get started with the Creative Entrepreneurship Prize. So if you could take a seat, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to get settled. And I'm just looking, I'm scouring to make sure that all of my teams are ready to go. Can I see my team's hands up? I see Karina J, I see Serge, Rose Tint, where's Studio? Brenton. Awesome. Oh my gosh. Guys, it's a real pleasure to be here. My name is Frances Pollock. I am the director of the Cultural Innovation Lab at Yale Ventures. I am also a part of the Yale School of Music community where I help students unpack their careers and what they want to do with their creativity. I also am a former recipient of one of the StartUp Yale prizes. So I know personally as a founder how important this competition is and how much of a catalyst it can be to these creatives' lives. So a little bit about the Creative Entrepreneurship Prize. This is a $25,000 award that's supporting student-led ventures and projects that advance innovation in the creative economy. This prize champions artists, producers, and scholars who transform cultural ideas into sustainable infrastructure, ventures that generate both social impact and economic value through creativity. This was not a prize 5 years ago. This is a very new prize. Last year was our inaugural award. And we actually have one of our winners from last year, Samantha Sweek, who won the Creative Entrepreneurship Prize with her venture Calmware. And I was wondering if I could invite you, Sam, to tell me a little bit about where Calmware has been and how this prize has been catalytic.
Sure.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Thank you, Frances. So this prize was really catalytic for Calmware's growth over the last year. It gave me the funding that I needed to bring in team members to help me produce my products, to invest in equipment that I needed, to streamline my production processes, and to also help me get my own studio space. So it definitely really helped me kind of take the next step to developing Calmware, and since then we've really made so much progress. We started wholesaling and are in, I think now, about 15 different stores, working with like local stockists. And then we've also built partnerships with a number of different organizations that we're creating custom co-branded product for, and also integrating actual product and programming into corporate and university wellness spaces to really support people. So a lot of it really kind of kicked off with the support that I got through SciCity's different venture development programs and the funding that I got from this prize.
So let's give it up for Calmware. Sam is an incredible example of what venture can do post-graduation for students. So the university continues to support Calmware. Calmware continues to support what we do here at SciCity. And then Sam herself has become such an integral part of the creative community here in New Haven. So let me tell you about our other judges now that we've introduced our former prize winner. The first one I'm going to start with is Tomo. So if you wouldn't mind waving. So Tomo is someone who is not only a creative entrepreneur, he's also an entrepreneur in the most conservative sense of the term, both in fintech and SaaS. He has a decade of senior executive experience in global lending, payments, and analytics. He is the founder and CEO of Advanced IQ AI, a data intelligence platform delivering portfolio and high-risk insights from the SMB alternative lending sector. Previously, he co-founded Yardline Capital and held executive roles as at BizFi, PaySafe Group, Thrasio, and Swiftline. And one of my favorite things about Tomo is that outside of business, he serves as the music director and conductor of the World Civic Orchestra and the Doctors Orchestra of New York. So he is someone that exemplifies this prize to the core. So let's give it up for Tomo. Our next judge is Jognet Bontemps, JB. JB is a distinguished film composer whose critically acclaimed work reverberates across the world. His score for Transformers: Rise of the Beasts which many of us have seen, right? It's a freaking movie. It was awesome. Was directed by Stephen Capel, a longtime collaborator who was recognized within the inaugural NAACP Image Award for Outstanding TV and Film Score. He has composed the score for Oscar-nominated short documentary, The Barber of Little Rock, and he is an incredibly active part of our Yale entrepreneurship community here through both Sci-City and in mentoring students through the Yale School of Music. So welcome, JP. And then the final judge is Joshua Espinoza, who is a Baltimore-based performing musician, recording artist, and entrepreneur whose work bridges creative practice and education and arts-driven enterprise. He is a pianist with multiple jazz recordings. In parallel with his performing career, Espinoza is deeply engaged in arts entrepreneurship. He is the founder and director of Patterson Park Academy of Music, which is a community-focused music school serving students from all ages. Josh also teaches piano at the Peabody Institute of Johns Hopkins University, where he works closely with emerging musicians preparing for professional careers. Another fun fact about Josh and I is that we went to college together. And so we have started our creative careers, you said what, for about 20 years now? So this room is full of friends. So this is our illustrious panel of judges. They are coming to the table with years of experience and perspective on both where the creative industry is these days, but also where it can innovate and where it can evolve to better support creatives. This prize is for $25,000. So that's what the first place winner is going to take home. But actually, you guys have a role in helping us decide a second prize, which is our Audience Choice Awards. So can everyone move their butt around and find that little card that was on your seat, right? So on it, you will see the name of our 4 teams that will be pitching today. What your job is for you to decide who was the most compelling, who was the most innovative, who are you most excited to see continue out in their work. And I want you to put a big old X or a big old check mark in the box next to the name of the most compelling team. And then my beautiful assistant, Tamaya, has a box here. She's going to be standing over that table. And I need you to take that card, once you filled it out, I need you to put it in that box. Because along with that $25,000 award, a second team today is going to be winning $2,000 to help with their prize going forward. The format of this prize is very simple. The teams are going to have 5 minutes to pitch, and our illustrious timekeeper, Hope Chavez, who is I keep calling Hope my overqualified timekeeper because on top of being our timekeeper today, she's also the executive director of the Arts Council of Greater New Haven. So give it up for Hope. You know, like any great leader, she knows how to fill a gap when someone drops out. So thank you, Hope. The teams are going to have 5 minutes to pitch, and then they're going to have 10 minutes to answer questions from our judges. So this is going to be a very simple flow, and we are actually going to start with our first team, which is Rose Tint Community Theater, which is the team that is newest to me, but a team that I am deeply excited about watching. So please welcome to the stage Rose Tint Community Theater.
Hey.
Hi. Hello, my name is Tyler Harding.
And I'm Charlotta Lebedenko, and we are the co-founders of Rose Tint Community Theater.
And we are so excited to tell you about the new home we are creating for theater and community in New Haven.
Yep. New Haven has an incredible theater scene, but there's a major gap. There's currently no accessible musical theater for everyday people. We have a town full of adults who grew up performing and now have nowhere to go, no creative outlet, no community.
And this is happening nationally. Theater is getting more expensive and less accessible, and as the professional model struggles, community theater becomes essential to maintaining live performance and real human connection. So the solution is Rose Tint, a community theater where the standard of excellence is high and the barrier of entry is low. We take on the task of finding challenging and meaningful creative opportunities for all.
Yep. And education is central to that. We are training everyday people to grow into performers, designers, directors, and producers.
Yeah, innovation goes beyond the performance and reaches into our creative process, empowering community members to step into both creative and leadership roles.
And by partnering with local schools, government, and underutilized venues, we are helping the city activate community spaces while they are helping us significantly reduce the cost of producing theater.
Yeah, our solution to inaccessible and expensive theater is this infrastructure for community, creativity, and access.
So Tyler and I grew up doing theater together at Children's Musical Theater San Jose, the largest youth theater of its kind. This after-school programming was by far the most transformative of our youth, teaching us not only performance skills, but confidence, public speaking, teamwork, and problem solving. So now today, I'm an MD PhD student at Yale, and Rose Tint is for people like me who still want to make excellent theater without producing it or without pursuing it professionally.
Yeah, and in contrast, I continue to pursue my theater education in college and then have gone on to become a professional theater educator for the last 8 years. And what I've seen is that some of the most important work is happening outside of professional spaces, and so we want to help bring more of that to New Haven.
Yeah. Traditionally, community theaters rely on 3 main revenue streams: ticket sales, donations, and grants. But all 3 of these are highly unpredictable. So we're building a more diverse and reliable model by adding education, digital content, and strong local partnerships.
Yeah, education will be the most powerful source of revenue for us over time with tuition, grants, and school partnerships. This summer, we launched Rosebuds, Rose Tint's youth programming. We'll start with a 2-week summer camp for musical theater in August, and then we'll move into a year-round after-school programming.
And we've already partnered with the New Haven Parks Department, who's providing us with an entirely free venue. So this makes this program really low cost to run, while allowing us to build a consistent and scalable revenue stream.
Yeah, through many conversations with families and schools around town, we've been seeing a great demand. No one else is combining this kind of educational programming with traditional community theater. So this is a look at the current theater landscape in New Haven right now. We're the only company claiming to bring together annually licensed beloved musicals, casting all who audition, and year-round educational programming.
And this is our team. We are so lucky to have such a strong advisory board of local community leaders, such as Miles Lassiter, who believe in our ability to identify and organize local talent.
Yeah, our team is an amalgamation of working professionals and emerging artists who are all looking for a place to create. Many of them did theater growing up, lost it, and found it again through Rose Tint. We see this as a launch pad where people build skills and take on leadership roles, but also life-changing community at a time where that's pretty hard to find.
Financial projections estimate $40,000 to $60,000 in net revenue for 2026 from ticket sales, fundraisers, and education programming. And this is entirely independent of grants and donations. We're also really lucky to have nonprofit fiscal sponsorship through the New Haven Arts Council.
Yeah, with our nonprofit mission, our outputs aren't just revenue, they're community engagement, education, and creative collaborations. So we're looking at some footage from the last 3 cabarets that we've done, one of which is tonight's Idiot Box at East Rock Brewing Company, sold out. Free venue, free rehearsal spaces, all graciously granted to us by local businesses that are looking to have more live performing arts and community events in these underutilized spaces.
Yep. Across these 3 sold-out cabarets in just the last 6 months, early traction is seen with cast and crew growth, audience reach, and net revenue. Through venue partnership, donated inventory, and volunteer labor, we've been able to produce these shows at little to no cost while actually making a profit.
Yeah. We know the mission.
So why should we win? We currently can produce a theater summer camp this year, but if we win this award, we will rapidly move into year-round after-school educational programming, allowing us to really use that partnership with the Parks Department.
Yeah. The mission of community theater is an important one, but the business structuring and the financial structures in place for these are typically failing ones. Beyond fundraising, we hope to gain creative solutions through the StartUp Yale mentorship, and we dream of building a robust and sustainable business model that we can copy and paste to other cities. So you're looking at earlier this week, we announced our first full season. We have these ambitious licensed musicals, inventive new works, all with opportunity for any and all who want to join.
So we hope you recognize the need for this kind of community theater and educational institution in our town, and we hope you see the difference that this prize would make in fast-tracking our solution. So please help us redefine the intersection of community and theater here in New Haven. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rose Tint Community Theater. All right, judges, you have up to 10 minutes to ask Rose Tint Community Theater about anything that you feel that they did not cover in their pitch.
What's your strategy for reaching and retaining audience members?
Currently, we have a mailing list and we have Instagram, and it's been really successful through that. We also are mostly based in East Rock, and East Rock is a big flyer town. So for every audition and event we do, we put flyers up all around town. And we've been blown away by how quickly we sell out our shows, how many new people come to audition for every show. And
a little bit of that problem is solved with the community theater aspect and taking in lots of people. So we, Charlotte and I are perfectly positioned to have a company where we cast everybody. Like we said, we grew up at a company where there was 150, 200 kids cast in a show, and they put on very excellent large-scale productions. So in taking in that many people, that means that you're selling that many more tickets to friends and families. We actually have a leg up on the professional theater scene in that you're going to cast a much larger net for your audience when grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, and all the cousins want to come see you in your show that evening.
So for your after-school program, what schools are you partnering with in the local community? And are you dovetailing or at least collaborating with their potential drama programs that they have in those schools?
Yeah, well, so there's a little bit of that in the works right now. Like I had a beautiful meeting with Foot School earlier this year, and it was kind of like we saw eye to eye about the same thing, which is that there's definitely not only a niche for theatrical education, but specifically musical theater education. A lot of kids want it, and so we've been in talks with a few schools. The Parks Department is probably the biggest partnership that we have to date right now. I think they've heard the same thing that we have, and so they jumped at the idea of giving us a space and a venue, and we're.
So the Parks Department is letting us use Barnard Nature Center. I don't know if you know, it's at Edgewood Park. It's a 3-story building, and it's connected to the Barnard Nature School. So that building is gonna basically become Rose Tint's year-round educational programming building, but we are also speaking with the principal across the street of that school to collaborate with them, give discounts to their students. And then the other school we're partnering with is ECA downtown. So we're doing our licensed musical Sweeney Todd this September at the Arts Hall at ECA. And we are partnering with the school to try to include students in the process, whether that's in the show or technically or in the pit playing in the orchestra. So we also have a partnership going on with them. And we've talked to about 5 other schools around town.
In addition to ticket sales, can you remind me of the different revenue streams? Do the participants, the cast members, do they pay a little something to participate in the production?
So
that looks like 2 different things. So in a typical community theater production for us, no. It's essentially you're volunteering your time. There's no stipend for a cast member, but there's also no tuition for an adult cast member. So education really, I think the most innovative thing that we're trying to do here that we're not seeing in a lot of other companies, which is essentially having a robust year-round educational program where tuition is coming from students and families. And we hope that that pays into having educators, but also producing large-scale theater for, again, there's grants, and it's a lot easier to bring in money for young people. And I think that there's a real gap in realizing that community theater solves a real social issue for adults as well, but the money's just not there as much. So we're hoping to build a robust education program that just kind of helps uplift and make sure that there is opportunity for adults and things like that.
I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about the size of the market, because you've mentioned that you're in a community where there's all of these people who used to be in theater who want to engage in that, but that feels very anecdotal. Is there surveying you've done, or have you actually sized out, obviously because you're contained to a certain neighborhood or a certain geography, are there limitations on your scalability there? How have you thought about that?
So something we've talked to a few theater companies around town, and a lot of them get, actors coming in from the greater New Haven community and beyond New Haven as well. Something we do have going for us is that we are a musical theater company located in New Haven, whereas some of the other ones are more around, but we anticipate having people come in from all around to audition for our shows, especially once they're licensed musicals. And then in terms of just audience, we have talked to people around the city of New Haven, and New Haven is desperately wanting this kind of after-school programming and programming during vacations, like spring break, winter break. So we know that there's huge demand for that. I can't give you exact numbers, but we can fit 70 students at Barnard Nature Center, and we hope to have more than 70 students interested.
Yeah, it's become pretty clear, and just even speaking to other theater companies in the area, they even tell us what we're doing is a great idea, and they know that their current base of performers, and if it's educational programming, that the students and their families really want musical theater programming. But it's harder to produce. It's more ambitious and more expensive. But I would say to the common thespian that there is a really strong and big affinity for musical theater and those recognizable titles, and so that's kind of the whole concept here is we know that there is a want and need for it. We've been told by other companies. We're just hoping that we've got a creative solution to delivering on it.
Can you talk a little bit more about the more philosophical, in a philosophical context, the social impact of what you're doing?
Yeah. You want to answer?
So we, like I said, I grew up doing theater. It was like my entire life. And then I basically went a decade without any kind of artistic expression, never got to do anything again. I just, was on the pre-med track, became a medical student. And something that, was really missing from my life is that third space, that creative outlet where you can go after school, after work with a group of people who are all passionate about the same thing. You become so close. And then also just more broadly than that, knowing the kind of impact it has on young people to grow up with that experience, it just it shapes you and sends you off into all areas of life, not just into professional theater. So we're just really looking to make that third space for anyone who wants it. We do plan to cast everyone who comes to audition for us somewhere in our season. We don't want to turn anyone away. We also don't want to turn any child away if they can't afford it. So we want to do like sliding scale pricing, scholarships, stuff like that.
That low barrier of entry that we claim to have and we really are excited to deliver on, I think is one of the most important philosophical things that we're working on, which is that showing up into a space and putting yourself out there and auditioning for people is really difficult. And New Haven has excellent theater. I think that there's anybody in here who knows the scene knows that it is excellent here. And so there's a hesitation and there's nerves about putting yourself out there in front of these places that put on excellent work. And we claim to put on excellent work, but before the excellent part, we claim the inclusive part, and we claim to build a space that makes you feel good about and lets you know we want you to be involved here not because you're perfect, but because you want to be involved here. Hard work comes before perfection and excellence here, and I think that that's the strongest thing. And I'm looking at faces in the audience and on these videos right now that are the exact people who tell me that's what working for them at Rose Tint is, feeling comfortable and empowered to walk into a room and be themselves. And so far, I think we've done that.
Two questions. One is the scalability aspect of it. I think you mentioned in your presentation that you're thinking about sort of stamping this out in various sort of markets. Is that part of the vision? Number one, and sort of how do you sort of intend to do that? Number two, Charlotte, particularly with you, I mean, MD, PhD, you probably don't have much time. How do you sort of grow with this organization? Because you're obviously a big part of the...
Yeah. You want to answer the first one? I'll answer the second one.
Yeah, well, so I mean, scalability looks like a few things. I think the ask today is really this award would really help us start off with this educational programming, which I think takes us in a bunch of directions. So we've mentioned a little bit about how we want to do immersive and live games and multimedia things. I think having ownership over our own IP through digital events is a really important thing, but there's a startup cost there. And I think producing more licensed musicals and bigger and more excellent pieces, there's a cost there. And so we have a really clear idea of where it goes and how many titles. I think one thing that we're seeing too is that when it comes to producing shows that are musicals around town, it's one every 2 or 3 years for some companies. And so to be able to produce musical theater multiple times a year, every year, we just need a consistent source of revenue. That's not where we're at this year, that's where we plan to go, and we really do believe that educational programming, if we were to get this award, we could kind of break ground on plans that we have, that could, if we kept at the pace we are today, get there in a year or two. But I do believe that if we were able to put educational programming in place today, that we'd be able to scale up and by next season be licensing 2, 3 musicals, be doing multimedia, live streaming events and stuff like that. It's just the seed cost that it takes, but I think education will get us there.
And I think you asked about like the copy and pasting into other cities. That part, the whole point of Rose Tint is it's a local community theater. So we don't envision New Haven's Rose Tint doing shows in Bridgeport, but we think this is like a good model, especially if we work really hard on how to make an innovative, sustainable theater model. I think that could be copy and pasted into like other local community theaters. And especially because everyone on our team has never done these jobs before. We're all amateurs, and that's the beautiful thing about Rose Tint, is we're finding community members who are passionate, want to volunteer their time, and learn how to do these jobs. I think if we had a really good model, we could probably help and train people in other cities to do the same thing. For your question about me, Yale MD PhD program, first of all, I'm here for 8 to 10 years, so that's awesome. I'm here for the long haul, and I am so passionate about my MD PhD. That's like very much my 9 to 5, and Rose Tint is my 5 to 9. And that's kind of the same for everyone here. We all have jobs outside of Rose Tint. We're all working professionals, and then Rose Tint is where we go to relax at the end of the day and have community, and those are our friends. This is where we do what we love, and it's just like really changed my life since it started 6 months ago. And it actually gives me more energy for my MD PhD.
All right, thank you so much, Rose Tint Community Theater. Thank you. All right, we go this way.
Microphones?
Yep.
Yeah, we go that way.
So I have a quiz for everyone in the audience. What do the shows Annie, Hamilton, and The Sound of Music have in common? So they're all musicals. You got that one right. What is the like really cool fact? They were all incubated in Connecticut. Yeah. So Connecticut is an enormous musical theater hub. In fact, New Haven used to be known as the out-of-town tryout for Broadway. And so if you go around our illustrious city, as Hope will be able to tell you, there are incredibly storied productions that have come through here, that were incubated here, that were seeded here, and have gone on to become global brands that have lasted decades. So it's a huge part of our tradition. It's a huge part of our heritage. Thank you so much, Rose Tint. Next, we're going to take a left turn into tech. We're going to welcome to the stage Chris Wong, who is the founder of Surge. And Chris is going to take us into the world of influencers and AI.
Great. Ooh. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris, founder and CEO of Surge, and we're creating a world where attention is engineered, not accidental. But before we dive in, let me tell you a quick story about how I got started in this space. 5 years ago, deep in the COVID TikTok boom, my friend Chammy suddenly blew up online and asked me to pretend to be her manager on a brand call. So I said yes, and I closed a $24,000 contract that day. And I took that first win and I turned it into Rise Media, a talent management agency that has since driven more than $3 million in campaign revenue, managed over 500 campaigns, and built an affiliate network of over 200 creators. Now I want you to remember Chammy as well as Yang, as they're both going to be important later. Now at Rise, I saw the power of attention firsthand. I ran a song promo that topped Billboard's 200 chart. I ran a social impact campaign for Procter & Gamble that reached over 50 million organic impressions, and I even ran a campaign for the Biden administration. And all of this showed me that attention is no longer simply just reflecting culture. It has become the new currency that shapes the values and behaviors of our society. But today, most organizations can only experience attention reactively. So that's why even in a $32 billion market, about 73% of campaigns report underperformance. Now, I wanted to take that 27% chance of success and make it 100. So that's why I built Surge, a Bloomberg terminal for the attention market, on a mission to make attention predictable, guide how it's created, and ultimately connected to the real world. So what have we done so far? The first step is building the right team, and this is where Chammy and Yang comes back. So while I bring operator experience from Rise Media, as well as strategic experience from BCG, Chammy is leading our go-to-market as an influencer with over 1.5 million followers, with a master's degree in media and communications from Seoul National University, as well as experience working at one of the leading marketing consultancies in South Korea. Yang, on the other hand, is leading our technology, combining his experience as an influencer with 1.3 million followers, as well as knowledge as a software engineer at Microsoft. And together, we are a team of influencers, talent managers, marketers, and engineers that have lived every side of the attention economy. So we are the ones uniquely equipped to solve this problem. Next, we needed to build a core technology, the very first AI engine that watches content and understands what drives attention. So our AI ingests live social media content, extracts structured data elements, groups them into related concepts, and models expected performance. And we're able to do this accurately, effectively, and efficiently. The next step is acquiring real market data. And we did that by partnering with brands as our wedge, by solving a very simple problem first. What are creators posting that's related to my industry? When are they mentioning my brand? And how does that compare? And in just 1 month, this approach allowed us to onboard 5 brand partners worth over $24,000 in total contract value, helping us authenticate over 200 influencer accounts and process over 40,000 videos. Now with that, we tested our system in live execution. In a $10,000 campaign, our AI identified the best concept for each individual influencer, allowing us to deliver over 70% performance margin, which is unprecedented in the industry. And we did this by 5xing the average video views of each video. And in doing so, helped us prove that our attention intelligence is able to produce measurably better outcomes in the real world. Now, driven by market feedback, we're combining our first 2 products into what we call Surge Engine, which is a modular intelligence layer built for the new generation of agentic AI. So instead of forcing brands into a rigid platform, we are providing both a modular front end as well as an API-first back end to help to plug directly into brands, agencies, and creators of any size. So think kind of Airtable-style interface powered by our AI backend. This brings us to why this funding matters. So we're at the end of phase 1, making attention predictable. The next step is phase 2, expanding from our single account intelligence into cross-creator, cross-platform intelligence, and helping us guide how attention is created. So this is the $25,000 prize is the catalytic unlock for us to make that jump, which then sets out the foundation for phase 3. So for the judges, as well as the investors in the crowd, what are you investing in by choosing Surge? You're investing in a team with a proven track record of success across every layer of the attention economy, a technology that has shown to work in both controlled lab testing as well as live implementation, a go-to-market strategy with demonstrated traction, monetization, and adaptability to the real world, and most importantly, a voice in the system that predicts and guides and applies attention to the modern world. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Chris.
Thank you so much, Chris. You have 10 minutes to answer questions from our judges.
Rise Media is the talent agency.
Yeah, so just a quick clarification. You guys will probably see Rise Media on the cards. That's because when I first started at SciCity, I registered as Rise Media, my talent management agency. And Surge came out of my journey. So by voting for Rise, you're voting for Surge.
Got it.
Yeah.
So can you go through the high-level metrics for Surge and sort of traction around Surge?
Sorry?
Traction around Surge?
Yeah, so the $24,000 worth of total contract value is our initial traction for the Creator Network as a service product. We also have that $10,000 song promotion campaign that we ran. That is for our campaign management product. And then our Surge Engine is pre-launch right now at the moment.
Can you talk about how you find clients?
Yeah. Do you mind clicking on 6, please? Thank you. So our go-to-market strategy is really powered by 5 main factors. The first is the existing client base that Rise Media possesses, because we've ran so many campaigns, we are connected with influencers as well as brands. The second is what I like to call influencer-led entry, which essentially is Chami leading our go-to-market strategy. She just gets a lot of invitations to events and brand meetings. So recently she was invited to speak at APEC Korea, which is a huge deal for us. The third thing is our founder-led social following. So in total, we have about 3 million followers across the 2 founders. I'm the only one with the least followers, but we haven't even leveraged these founders yet because we're planning on launching that with Surge Engine. So this is the traction that we were able to achieve before that. And then there's always traditional SEO, but I think the last and almost most important is customer referrals and upsell. Because out of the 5 brands that we've worked with, 2 of them came out of pure referrals. And within K-Beauty, most marketers move around these brands a lot. So there's just a lot of action and referrals, as well as very easy upsell between our 3 products.
So as we both know, this space got overfunded in like 21, 22 timeframe.
Yeah.
You were at Captivate as well. So like, what differentiates this platform, and why now?
Good question. Do you mind clicking return and then click on 8, please? So I think there's really 4 main factors related to our right to win. The first is our engine, and specifically, okay, just to take a step back, anyone can right now run a video through Gemini 3.1 and probably get pretty good insights about that video. But what you'll find is if you put all of those insights into a spreadsheet and you run it through an unsupervised clustering model, you're going to get very generic results. It's going to be like, oh, these are dance videos, and these are talking videos, and these are, I don't know, POV videos. And that's not helpful for brands, right? That doesn't actually tell us what's trending right now. So what we did was we built specific weighted clustering models for each content type. So that's a part of the technology that's unique. The second is our data flywheel. So each time we run a campaign, we get live feedback from our actual campaign results, which helps us improve and retrain our AI. The third is the modular infrastructure. So you'll find Captivate and all of those other platforms require you to kind of buy into their full suite of services and use it immediately. We want to build for this new era of agentic AI. So essentially, a modular infrastructure with an exposed API so that it plugs directly into agents that's working. And I think the last piece is our go-to-market advantage, which I think we already covered. That's a very important piece because influencer marketing is an extremely relationship-based industry. And we're kind of like, I like to joke, the Nepo babies of the influencer world. Because before our product even existed, we already had creators and we already had brands. And most of the time, brands are, the platforms are worrying, how do I get my first influencer? How do I get my first brand? So these 4 factors is kind of what powers our right to win.
Can you speak more about the revenue model? Do people pay like a monthly fee to like be a part of this service?
Sure. Can we return, please? And then can we click on number 4? So like I said, there's 3 main products that we have. Creator Network as a Service is what we launched with. That's our data wedge that we use to acquire our first batch of data. So this is on a flat monthly subscription model. So you just pay a fee, and then you get to use it for as much as you want. Campaign management is what you saw with that demo campaign that we ran, and we get paid based on our performance margin. So instead of the brands giving us a flat percentage of their total campaign budget, we make money based on our ability to get better results with less money. And then the last piece is search engine, which is going to be on a usage-based model. Since we have an exposed API, whether you're a human calling our services using it or an AI agent that's calling our services, it'll be fully usage-based in that sense.
Can you talk a little bit more about the symbiotic relationship between Rise and Surge? Because you've got both, you're basically dealing on both sides of the coin here, and how do you plan on leveraging that?
Sure. I mean, I think the best part about having Rise Media is you have a huge base of creators and a lot of notability within the industry. So the big part of the reason why we decided K-Beauty as our beachhead market to go after is because we have 30 brands that have actively ran campaigns through me directly, as well as a huge cohort of Asian American creators that have worked with us, trust us, and is willing to let us essentially test stuff out with their data. So there's a huge lift for us to start off. And I think that barrier is actually quite high for most platform players that's trying to enter the industry. So a brand would literally come to us and say, you know what, like we don't really, like it doesn't matter how you work, but I trust you, Chris, because you ran a campaign for us last year and we got really good views, right? So there's a huge benefit to having that, but I want to clarify that our 2 companies are separate entities right now. So Rise Media is an LLC based in California, and Surge is a Delaware C Corp. Yeah.
And you have no qualms with opening this up then to other public, because obviously it could be a potential advantage to have this technology and this platform for Rise.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this from a scalability perspective, right? Like there's only so many campaigns that Rise can run. But if we become the core brain behind every single campaign that's happening right now, that is a huge potential for us. And also allows us to improve at a much faster pace.
Can you talk about how you would use the funding if you were to receive the prize?
Yes. Can you please click return? And then can you please click on number 5? So the bulk of our funding is going to go into hiring new engineering talent to help us with improving our AI model. Now, Yang is currently doing all of the tech himself, and he built the core technology to begin with. And we were able to outsource a lot of the platform building stuff to outsource teams. But since this next phase requires an improvement of our core technology, we do need to up our engineering talent there. The second piece is going to be cloud compute GPU costs as well as data infrastructure storage costs. So we were lucky that during our bootstrapping stage, we got into Google Cloud for Startups program, which gave us $2,000 worth of free GPU credits. Unfortunately, we are about to run out. So, a good portion is going to that as well. And then there's API costs related to the services that we're using to fund our research. And then finally, some human efforts with data labeling as well as prototyping that goes into that research component as well. So to answer it in a shorter way, technology.
It's related to that, but your vision of creating the Bloomberg terminal for influencer marketing, right? I mean, that obviously sort of presupposes that you're going to get a massive data advantage, sort of data access advantage, right? Like, how do you compete against the incumbents from that perspective?
Yeah, so it's a good point. The incumbents basically win right now with the largest influencer database. They say, we have this many influencers, so you should use us. But we're taking a slightly different approach. We're saying, it doesn't matter what influencers we have, you can put in any influencer within our system, and we will be able to give you those results. So the data barrier is really not an issue for us. And there's also a lot of synergies within our 3 products that helps us acquire more and more personal information from the creator. Because, for example, running a campaign. A creator will never just donate their address or contract information to you. But if you run a campaign and you invite them into the campaign and you require that information from them, they're almost always willing to give that to you. So that's why we all started with brands as our wedge to acquire data, because creators are willing to provide more data if they have interest in monetizing. So that's kind of the structure. Yeah. Or if you return, I'll just quickly. We live in a $36 billion market with about 2.5 that sits within our beachhead. And the 3 main reasons why we chose KBE as our beachhead is because of the high existing product demand, limited adoption barriers since most of it is white space, and also really strong go-to-market fit with Rise. Perfect.
Yay! Thank you so much, Chris. So another little fun fact, the city of New Haven was recently awarded $50 million by the Department of Economic and Community Development to become a quant hub, which is really awesome. A parallel statistic is that 40% of all students who apply for funding at Yale identify themselves as creatives. So you can imagine in this age of AI, how much of a innovation perspective having creatives in this ecosystem is going to help change the industry. So thank you so much, Chris. I've worked with Chris for about 2 years now, and this has been an incredible journey to watch both Rise Media develop and Search come out of Rise Media. Next, we have someone that I'm working with currently in the Sci-City Accelerator, Brenton, who is going to be presenting presenting about his vision for ceramics with Studio Be-Do. Welcome.
All right, I'm gonna take us back in time a little bit to the beginning of human history. People have been making pottery ever since then. It's an essential component of our human nature to make things with our hands. And yet today, most people feel disconnected from that creative instinct and the type of embodied making that supports well-being. So working with clay reduces depression and anxiety and improves our mental well-being. At a moment shaped by automation, screens, and AI, more people are actively seeking tactile, grounded, creative experiences. Interest in ceramics has never been higher. Studios right now are really overburdened with long wait lists, and classes can be hundreds of dollars. Traditional access to ceramics has not kept up with demand. People assume that they need access to a pottery wheel, to a lot of studio space, and also weeks of classes in order to start. So Studio Be-Do is responding to that problem by making clay accessible to people right from home. We're bringing together design-forward education, digital resources, and physical tools into one central ecosystem. My name's Brenton. I'm a ceramic artist, an architectural designer, and a craft educator, and I've worked with clay for over a decade. I founded Studio Be-Do in 2022 as a ceramics brand focused on handmade ceramics, and I work primarily through a method called hand building rather than on the pottery wheel. So I use textured sheets of clay, and then I imprint those sheets with templates that I make on my own. I started marketing my ceramics through posting videos online, and those videos gained a lot of traction and got millions of views even. And I realized that people weren't just interested in the final product, they were really interested in learning about the process itself. So you can see here some of those videos that I make where you see the process of how I use templates and molds, and almost immediately people were asking for the templates themselves. So the real purpose of Studio Be-Do is offering these resources to makers and not just making the ceramics themselves. So I began by selling project guides, which are digital PDFs that you can download and you can print at home, and that gives you the instructions that you need to get started. I also launched a limited run of craft kits, which you can see right there. So it has all of the physical tools that you need to start your project. Those sold out in 2 days. And I've also been teaching workshops and demos for hundreds of students. And I've even been developing digital resources for makers. So this is a tool where you can select a form that you want to make. Then you can customize the dimensions of it. So you make it to your own liking. It's like you're designing it yourself. You input the shrinkage rate of your clay because clay shrinks as it dries, and the template compensates for that. And then you can actually download the PDF of that template so you can actually make it at home, but it's still your own design. So I'm working on building that out to be an even better resource where you can imagine making a mug from, you could choose the body of the mug, you could choose the handle, you could even choose the base of the mug, and then print that at home and make your own design. While each of these resources in themselves is innovative, the real innovation of Studio Be-Do is in building out a platform where they can all coexist together. Right now, ceramics is very fragmented in how education works, so having a central hub for hand building is very helpful for people. So I'm calling this the education ecosystem with all kinds of resources, and no matter where you are on your clay journey, there's a resource for you. So if you're just starting out and you've never touched clay before, then videos are a great resource for understanding what the process is. If you are ready to begin working with clay, then you can use the project guides and physical templates in order to get over the intimidating start of the process. If you're a teacher or you're a therapist, you can use craft kits in your next classroom or therapy session. If you already have experience working with clay and you really want to grow in that experience, then you can use digital tools or courses. And ultimately, we're building out a platform where guest educators can come in so people aren't just learning from me, but also a curated selection of other educators and a community platform where people can learn from each other. So there's already a lot of traction. Studio Be-Do has 370,000 followers across social media and 10 million average monthly views. I have sold 724 digital craft guides, and ceramic drops sell out within an hour. I've been featured in 4 different ceramics magazines, including Pottery Making Illustrated and Architectural Digest Mexico. But I'm not doing this alone. I have a whole host of collaborators that I'm working with, whether it's manufacturing partners, press partners, ceramic brands, and also business mentors that help round out my experience. Revenue comes from a few different streams. So there's handmade ceramics, which is really the foundation of the revenue. There's also digital products and physical tools, which are scalable over time. And ultimately, we're building towards memberships and subscriptions that are recurring revenue. So this is sort of the trajectory of the future. I'm going full-time after I graduate next month from my architecture program, and I'll be building out Studio Be-Do, so it's ultimately a community platform. The prize funding would really help with these first 2 phases, which would be manufacturing, prototyping, the actual templates themselves, And it would be strengthening the digital platform, so the coding that needs to go into that so that it's sustainable over the future. So you can see what would take me years of bootstrapping could happen all within the next 6 months. Studio Bidu already excites people to work with clay, but the ultimate vision is building this platform so people can sustain a lifelong relationship with clay. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenton. All right, you have 10 minutes to answer questions.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the therapeutic applications of your designs, and also how have you thought about getting into that market, that therapy market, as a revenue source?
Yeah, I think one of the next steps, I'm participating in the Sci-City Summer Fellowship, and I want to use that time to really build out the collaborations that I have. I'm already working with educators, so I know a lot of elementary school, middle school, high school teachers that can help me understand the skill level of different students, but I don't yet have therapists that I'm currently working with, so I'm focused on that right now to talk to people who work in art therapy already and use their expertise, because that's not my expertise, but I do strongly believe that ceramics is great for people and that it does definitely reduce your stress levels. So there's a place for it in therapy, and I think the craft kits are a really great way that I can just give something, a resource to a teacher or a therapist, and they can easily use it in their sessions.
Do you have any data related to repeat customers, people who come again and buy a PDF or buy a second PDF?
I only have anecdotal data, but I definitely have people who email me with things that they've made from the templates that I put online, and often people will return to buy more of those templates. I currently have 6 project guides out there, and there's people who buy all 6.
I'm curious if you've thought at all about how people access a kiln or something, because
Yeah.
it's all about giving people more access to this, but what about the equipment that's needed?
Right, so the biggest barrier for people to actually finalize their pieces is to fire it in a kiln. But there are options for clays that you don't actually need to fire in a kiln. There's air dry clay, and those are great for projects like the coaster kit that I have here, where it doesn't actually have to hold liquid or you don't eat off of it. So you can imagine pencil holders, all kinds of things like lamps that you could make out of clay with air dry clay, and those would be in the kits. But then I'm also offering those project guides for people who have access to a kiln. I'm showing here a site called KilnShare where you can find a space in a kiln to rent near you. And there's already thousands of kilns all across the US on this site. So I'm actually in contact with the person that runs it, and he's very excited to work with someone who actually has a large following on Instagram to really spread this resource and make it available to more people.
Besides Instagram and social media, what other strategies do you have to find new customers and spread the word?
Yeah, right now it's through Instagram, it's through social media, but it's also through word of mouth. The resources I really do think are strong enough that people talk to each other about it. The ceramics community is very tight-knit, so studios across the nation. I was just at a conference where everyone was there and people told me that they used my templates, which was really exciting. But in the future, I want to launch the kits and the templates themselves in ceramic supply shops, but also in studios throughout the country. So it's really those community studios that are the hub of ceramics. And if I can get my products there, I've already talked to a few studio owners who were like, yeah, absolutely, we would carry those kits. And if I can get those in different places all throughout the country, then it would have brand recognition. People would trust the kits. Yeah.
Besides yourself, are there other members of your team?
Right now, it's just me. I do this part-time, but I'm excited to take it full-time when I graduate. And through the Sci-City Summer Fellowship, I'm hoping to find other collaborators and people to work with, especially if anyone here is works in tech and has good skills to help me with building out. You saw the template maker that I made, but I know that it could be so much better with the right partner. So I'm looking for that right now.
Remind us again, what's the use of proceeds for the $25,000? How is it going to accelerate your product?
Yeah, so the $25,000 would help me build out the actual digital platform so it's sustainable over time. Right now I have a Squarespace website, so having something that really could have that community platform, it could host videos, all of that would be very helpful, but also I'm prototyping, manufacturing, and launching the physical templates, which I think, yeah, are the ones that are like made of foam. And it's a specific material that templates aren't made of right now, but it's really useful for clay and it's great for beginners because it makes such a good impression into the clay. And also it's two layers. So in the craft kit, you get both of those layers. One of them is almost like a sticky peel sticker. And it's really satisfying to cut it out, to peel it, to stick it onto the other piece of foam. And so that in itself is like a fun activity for people.
We don't have to take 10 minutes.
Yeah, I guess I'll also add.
Yeah. Go for
There's
it.
plenty to add.
Time is yours.
Yeah, I'll add that like I see access to ceramics as so important. I want to still be able to offer resources that aren't paid for, you know? So the video content is really special and getting that out there to as many people as possible. And even the digital tools, I see sort of like, you know, the basic forms that you could choose, that would be a free resource. But if you wanted to make a more complex a form with patterns on it and something that's more your own customized design, then that would be like an additional sort of subscription or paid feature of those. So it's the question is not just making the most money, it's giving the most access to the most people, because what I realized is that it's meaningful to make and sell a mug, but it's much more meaningful to allow someone else to make that mug, because for me, the transformational, like, empowering experience of making something with your own hands and then drinking from that mug, it's so good for you, and I think that everyone should have access to that, so that's the goal.
So I love this idea of making pottery and clay accessible. So what other avenues are you looking to expand the, I guess, the knowledge or at least the awareness that this is a possibility? Because it seems like right now it's going through a lot of the traditional kiln infrastructure and communities. How do you get outside of that? What avenues have you looking to do that?
Yeah, I think it's expanding it to other creators that are already doing this. Like, there's so many people making this type of ceramic out there that's hand-built, that's not on the pottery wheel, that people could do at home. And it's more about bringing those people onto the platform, sort of expanding it out to people who have different techniques. I have this specialized, you know, texture in the slab technique, but other people, you know, combine different clay bodies together. They create beautiful things with just the clay. They pinch ceramics. They make ceramics out of coiling. So expanding into people who already have, you know, a network of workshops that they do across the country in those physical spaces, but enabling those people to teach those things online, it would bring those audiences in as well and continue to grow from there.
And then how do you find the person who has no idea that this exists, right? Because right now it seems like you're piggybacking off of existing networks. How do you bring this to someone who has no idea that I can make a mug without a kiln and being part of a pottery studio?
Yeah, I think it is those sort of natural discovery tools that we have now, which is social media and YouTube. I think that tons of people see these viral videos and they wonder, like, or they see how amazing the process is, but it seems like there's too many barriers to get there yourself. So tying that to actually showing in a video through comments that this is possible to do yourself, like showing the kit, showing someone using it, that's the powerful way to bring people in. So it like bridges the gap between like, oh, there's this cool thing I'm seeing online, and wait, I need to have access to a studio and classes cost $800, so I'm not gonna do that.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Brenton.
Thank you.
So one thing I wanted to shout out just before we bring on our last venture is that on May 27th and May 28th, we are hosting the Yale Innovation Summit. And at the Yale Innovation Summit, we have a whole sector of the summit that's devoted to arts and culture. And as part of the arts and culture track this year, we are, for the first time ever, going to have a arts market that is featuring local small, medium enterprises that are run by artists, where you actually get to shop and purchase assets from, or not assets, oh my gosh, crafts from local New Haven artists and from hopefully from Yale community members. So that's actually run by our two talented, or our one talented judge and our illustrious overqualified timekeeper, Sam Sweek and Hope Chavez. So the last company that we have is someone that I have personally not had the luxury of working with, but who I am begging to expand her sizes because I am so obsessed with what Karina is doing. So let's welcome to the stage, Karina J.
Okay, is this on? It is. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Karina. I am a second-year MBA candidate, and I am making slip-on jeans that adapt to you. So I'm gonna paint you a little picture. Let's say you're at your favorite restaurant eating really yummy food, you're ready for a night out on the town, and then all of a sudden you just feel the waistband of your jeans digging into you. And all you wanna do is go home, rip off your jeans, and sit on the couch for the rest of the night. I know I've been there many times. I know a lot of women have as well. And that is really because traditional jeans are not designed for real life. The reality of women's bodies is that women can actually gain up to 5 pounds in a single day due to stress, hormones, water retention, etc. But traditional jeans are built to constrain. So because they're built with a metal button and zipper right here, no matter how stretchy the denim is, you quite literally cannot grow right here where you need to the most. And so enter Karina J Denim. Our mission is to empower women to feel comfortable and confident in their bodies all day, every day. And we do that with a slip-on design. So as you can see here, I have what looks like a normal pair of jeans with a button and zipper, but you can see that on the inside, it's actually just a slip-on jean. And there's a knit panel here that acts as the waistband. And so that's what allows you to kind of grow throughout the day. This has really been a creative endeavor that I've spent 3.5 years prototyping these jeans across 6 different prototypes, and I partnered with a designer from Levi's to really dial in on fabric and a designer from Athleta to really dial in on fit and function. And I only use high quality materials. So I sourced the denim from Everlane, and I sourced the knit panel fabric from Lululemon, or from the same mill that Lululemon sources their fabric from. So that's a little bit about the business. Where are we though? So as I mentioned, I spent 3.5 years designing these jeans, and I launched the Kickstarter last month, and I received $10,000 in pre-orders within 72 hours. The venture was also featured by Design for America, Poets and Quants, named as a project we love by Kickstarter, and featured as a startup to watch by Vanderbilt Engineering. So that's a little bit about the business, but what are the customers actually saying about the jeans? That's what matters the most. So Josie says, quote, "If I was blindfolded, I would have guessed that I was wearing joggers. Now I'm sad when I have to wear any other pair of jeans." Jaya said, "Nothing wrecks my self-esteem more than putting on a pair of jeans that remind me I've gained a little weight. Karina J's are the first jeans that allow me to feel comfortable and sexy all day in my skin." Okay, but a picture paints 1,000 words. So this is Professor Barry Nelbuff, if you aren't familiar with him. So he just asked me if I could show him my jeans, so I dropped them off for him. And the next thing I know, he's wearing them, and he actually bought a pair for himself. He said, quote, "I didn't want to give mine back. Who says they're only for women?" But I think what's really important to note is that he and I are actually wearing the exact same jeans. Those are the ones that I am wearing right now. So I think it's cool that 2 different people of completely different body types can love the same pair of jeans. I think that really speaks to the venture. But now just to serious. But now just to speak a little bit about the financials. So this venture is 100% bootstrapped. I've put in $45,000 of my own money into this over the last 3.5 years. And that really matters when I talk about what choosing Karina J Denim would mean for this prize today. So the $25,000 wouldn't just grow our business, it would fundamentally change our growth rate. So I would spend about $7,000 to create tall and petite sizing, which would unlock 30% of our customer base. And then finally, Frances would get the jeans that she's been asking for multiple times. I'd also spend about $18,000 on marketing. So as you can see here, a lot of customers really like these jeans, but a lot of women just don't know these jeans exist. This is a very new venture. I only just launched it. And you can also see our revenue projections. So I'm projecting that we can get to about 100K within the next year. But with the 25K in funding, I think I can 5 times that. And on a more personal level, as Jay mentioned, nothing wrecks her self-esteem more than wearing a pair of jeans that don't fit. So if you chose this venture today, you'd be choosing to really invest in women's comfortability. And then finally, why the Creative Prize? So I'm not just building jeans, I'm really creating a community that celebrates women's imperfections and everyday struggles. It's also creativity with social impact. So jeans were created by Levi's during the gold rush for men's workwear. It was never meant for women's comfort, so that's what I'm doing. And then finally, it's creativity that scales. So this isn't just a side project. This is something that I'm planning on pursuing full time. I've given up my full-time job at McKinsey to pursue this. And I plan to turn it into a multi-million-dollar brand that can scale and really transform women's clothing. So that's a little bit about the brand. I'll welcome any questions. And you can also look at these jeans too.
Just because I'm not super familiar with this,
Yeah.
are there competitors that do have like elastic waistband jeans?
Yeah, definitely. And so I actually have a slide on that in my appendix. But you know, it's no secret that jeans don't really work for women. I think a lot of companies know this and have created what I think are a lot of Band-Aid solutions. So there are some competitors out there that have created a pull-on, like a classic pull-on jean, like Spanx, Not Your Daughter's jeans. But I found that they don't look like real jeans. They don't have that opening where the zipper should be or a real non-functional button. You look at the jeans and you know they're pull-on jeans. Or jeggings had their moment in the sun about 10 years ago, and they were meant to be as comfortable as leggings and look like jeans, and they accomplished neither, and then they immediately kind of faded into thin air. Yeah, exactly. There's also some other companies that have created, once again, what I see as Band-Aid solutions, because they don't look and they are not real jeans. So Rag & Bone kind of had a viral moment with the sweatpant jean, and that's because I think a lot of women resonated and people resonated with the whole, oh my God, yes, my jeans are uncomfortable. I want jeans that feel like sweatpants. But they're not real. Everything is literally painted on. So there's no actual real button. There's just something like a print that's meant to look like a button. And so if you stand even 1 foot with someone wearing the sweatpant Rag & Bone jean, you immediately can tell they're not real jeans. And so that's why these are the only product I found on the market that actually have an opening where there's supposed to be a fly and that actually have a non-functional button pierced through the jeans.
So I might have missed it, but what's your price point for these jeans?
Yeah,
Where do they
definitely.
fit in sort of like the jean hierarchy?
Yes.
And what challenges are you going to run into when you try to manufacture at scale?
Yeah, definitely. And so that is in my financial slide. But essentially, my unit, so I'm charging $155 per jeans, which is on par with kind of my customer competitors who charge about $150 for a pair of jeans. So they actually come in over $50 cheaper than that Rag & Bone sweatpant jean that had the viral moment. So they are cheaper. And right now I have a 2.5 margin, which is on par with what a D2C company should have when they're first starting out. It was really important to me that I maintain that 2.5 margin. As I scale, I'll only be able to make manufacturing cheaper. Right now, I have it right in LA, which is really nice because I'm able to kind of go into the manufacturer. I'm able to talk with them as often as I need to. Eventually, I might look into doing it overseas. They obviously have high minimums, but as I expand, I'll be able to do that. And so I'll just be able to make it even cheaper as I go on.
How do you, so I mean, any IP moat or any IP sort of protection around the designs?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. Yeah. So in terms of kind of thinking about how to protect myself legally, there's the trademark route and then there's the IP route. So the trademark route is definitely cheaper and it's definitely something recommended. And so I'm in the process of trademarking the name Karina J. Denim and the tagline, which is have your cake and wear your jeans too. The patent, yeah, it's a fun name. The patent is a little bit where things get a little bit more complicated. I've talked to a lot of different apparel founders, and a lot have actually advised me against a patent, just because it's really expensive, so I'd be spending most of my money on that as opposed to doing anything else. But also, let's say I did come out with my patent tomorrow, and then Levi's went and ripped off my idea. I don't really have the capital to go and sue Levi's. They would just bury me immediately. So I think really where it comes to protecting my brand and protecting the IP is in the kind of community building and storytelling of my brand. So when you think Levi's, you don't think, oh my God, it's a company that totally understands women's comfort. You think legacy, you think they're really known for their rigid cotton, which is great. There are some customers that want that. Or when you think Rag & Bone, you think premium, you think beautiful silhouettes, very long inseams. So when you think Karina J. Denim, people are really gonna think this is a company that understands me and understands my everyday struggles. I'm not a supermodel that can just, wear the same pair of super tight fitting jeans all the time. There's someone that gets me and gets that I'm a normal woman that has different weight fluctuations and is catering fits for me exactly. So that's really how I hope to kind of protect my brand and how customers will see me.
But it's going to have to be sort of a multi-layered approach, right? Because I mean, if
Definitely.
you turn this into a multi-million-dollar sort of product or brand,
Yeah.
you're going to have some protections in place, right? I mean, so like, what's sort of the plan around that? I mean, I just obviously for obvious reasons, I would worry about anybody sort of coming in and sort of disrupting you entirely, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I can't, and this is kind of where especially like I love the feedback of talking to different founders and different people who've worked in apparel. So that is something where I've talked with lawyers and kind of legal counsel where my design is patent worthy, as they said. And so, if I were to have the capital to do that, especially if I am growing this into a multi-million-dollar brand, that is something that I eventually will do, for sure. It's just not something right now with the amount of capital I have that really makes sense. But it is protection worthy.
Can you talk about the members of your team?
Yeah, definitely. So I essentially am, the founder and the CEO. But kind of like I mentioned, I'm working, sorry, I think this is not working. But I have a designer from Levi's who kind of dials in on fabric, and she's kind of my consultant on everything stylistic and design. And then I'm also working with a technical designer and fit expert who's ex-Athleta. And then also working with a social media manager. But I think what's important to call out is that these are people that I've hired that are doing this work freelance on a retainer basis. So the brand is me and the company is me. And I own 100% equity and I'm the only one on the term sheet. Originally, I started people on an hourly rate, but I found that they don't really own their projects the way that I want them to. And so I found that hiring people on a retainer salary kind of really allows them to run with the problem as if it's their own. And so these are just some of the, obviously, costs that I've incurred. And so when I talk about, how I would use that $25,000 prize into fit development and into marketing, it also includes, obviously, paying these people to continue being able to build the brand.
Can you talk a little bit more about the marketing that you're planning to invest in and how you see that like 5Xing their scale?
Definitely, yeah. So part of it is a really easy win, low-hanging fruit, which is that we don't offer tall and petite sizing. So those are customers that, really love our jeans, but just can't buy them because the fit just is not there. So that's kind of a very low-hanging fruit. But then the other, it really comes down to marketing, and it really comes down to D2C, and a lot of content creation, a lot of kind of telling that story. Because especially since a lot of the brand is the community storytelling aspect of like, these are everyday problems that I have, what about you? A lot of that really comes down to the marketing budget. And I think, especially kind of thinking about competitors, so when you think of like a Spanx or Not Your Daughter's Jeans, they're not creating styles for the younger women, which is the woman I'm targeting. So I'm targeting women ages 25 to 39. And kind of creating styles and creating fits for them specifically. And that's a really untapped market in this slip-on, pull-on jean market. And so a lot of the marketing will go towards appealing to them specifically.
So one other thing, this reminds me a lot of like pregnancy jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, I guess like, do you see any potential for them to just like start making jeans like yours? Like, I guess, yeah, like how are you differentiating from like their ability to just start targeting not a pregnancy audience with those types of?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's really where it comes to that storytelling and really kind of talking about how this is something everyday women struggle with. Because I think a lot of brands don't acknowledge how normal weight fluctuation is at such a normal age due to hormones, stress, water retention. And so I think it's really about saying, hey, this is something every woman struggles with. This is not just about women that are gaining weight because of pregnancy or because of menopause or something like that. Like this is something younger women deal with every day, and telling those stories and really talking about it that way. And I think it also comes down to explaining the technology, like actually showing, hey, there's a fly, but it's actually not a fly. So I think it really comes down to that.
Are you committed to D2C model? Are you going through a sort of retail model or licensing? Like, what's your longer term plan around this?
That's a great question. So I've talked to a lot of apparel founders, and when you're selling to wholesale, you have to sell it to them for about half the price. So if I were to do that, I wouldn't be making a profit. So originally my plan was wait till I can get my costs down through scaling and then go wholesale. But a lot of apparel founders have actually talked to me about how with wholesale, it's kind of free marketing in a way. And so that's something that I'm actually exploring a little bit sooner. So I've already gone down to some boutiques in Fairfield and New York to really talk to them about what that process would look like in terms of them buying my jeans, the timeline, and things like that. And so I think I actually do, within the next year, want to get into boutique selling just to figure out what that experience even looks like. Like when a customer goes into the store, can they really see what the jeans are like? Can they see how they're different? What does that buying flow look like? Especially because if you think about someone who goes in, buys a pair of jeans, and they're like, oh my gosh, these are the best jeans ever. They're not then gonna go back into that niche boutique and buy the jeans again. They're gonna go online and buy them directly online. And then I absorb the full profit margin. Or when they go and they tell their friend, that friend's gonna go online and buy it from me. So I think boutiques are something that I do really want to explore within the next year.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Karina.
Thank you.
All right, my friends, you have heard the pitches. It is now your turn. You need to take those cards. You need to decide who was the most compelling pitch and who deserves the $2,000. And then when you're done, please put your tickets in the box by Tamaya. Tamaya, will you wave? Will you wave? Put your tickets back in Tamaya. My final comment is I have brand loyalty to two things. One is Diet Coke, and two is American Eagle jeans, because they're the only ones that fit me. If Karina can figure this out, it is a godsend for tall girls everywhere. So thank you so much for coming to the Creative Entrepreneurship Prize. We are going to deliberate, and please join us again at the award ceremony at 5:30. Thank you.